So welcome back to the Dogs and Deadlifts podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Rose, and today we have non-stop Dogwear representative Blanca Chismadia. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so nice to join you.
Oh, look, it's been a bit of a struggle with our time zones and our schedules and holidays over the last couple of months, but to finally sit down with you and have a chat, I'm really looking forward to that. So once again, thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It was very nice that you reached out, and I'm happy that finally hit the line.
Yeah, awesome. So look, we're going to jump straight into it. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role with Nonstop? Some people that may be listening to the podcast today may never even heard of Nonstop before. So we're just going to go through a few things around some origins and a little bit about your role with the company.
Hmm. So as you said,
Mhm.
my name is Blanca. I have been working for Nonstop for I think 6, 7 years now.
Mhm.
I'm working as a creative manager, which means that I'm responsible for all the visual content that we're having in the campaigns and all of these sorts of stuff.
Mhm.
So it's really fun, I think. And yeah, about Nonstop. Nonstop is actually celebrating its 15th anniversary this year.
Mhm.
It's a company from Norway that was founded by 4 people because they could not find a harness that allowed their dog to like really reach their full potential. The dog was called Horek, and Horek had like a beautiful movement when he was free running, but they struggled to find a harness that was allowing him to do the same while being attached.
Mhm.
So they started, to test and try and found the solution that they really liked. And back then, they were the founders. They were on the national team in skijoring.
Mhm.
So they were doing Nordic style, like polka, skijoring, and all of these sports. So people naturally started asking once they saw the harness, like, "Oh, this looks really cool." And while in the beginning it was only for that one dog, like they didn't have any plans to start a company. It was about just finding a solution for that dog. They
Mhm.
quickly realized that there are other dogs that might have the same struggles, and they wanted to share this with the world.
Mhm.
So that's how the company started, and now we are exporting to over 40 countries,
Mhm.
selling to over 105 through our web shop.
Mhm.
So it became a real global company with a lot of exciting products and a lot of cool innovations. And just what is fun is that all of these solutions and all the products that they are or we are designing.
Mhm.
I'm not on the product team, so it's like hard to say that we are designing them. They are a lot better at this work than I am. But it's always about the dog's perspective to allow them to like really like full movement from our jackets to our harnesses. So it's not only about the harnesses, it's all about the other products. It's so that they can move freely, enjoy their time outdoors, and just spend better time outside with their owners.
Yeah, and look, I'm really excited to talk about a particular new range, obviously very soon, but we won't get into that just yet. If people are looking, obviously on your website, you've got a number of, I guess, pro athletes as well using
Mhm.
your equipment. Some that I've spoken to on the previous episodes.
Mhm.
Victor, Nick, and Joy from the US, I've spoken to as well. But you have a good cross section of athletes. Can you tell us about how, I guess that program come about, or like I said, there's a number of athletes throughout the world, being using your products.
So obviously, as I mentioned, it also started with pro athletes using the
Hmm.
product,
Hmm.
who were already on the national team. So then other people also in the national team and in their network started to use the harness.
Hmm.
Um, I think because of this, even though the sport is fairly small, it's super important to also give back to that sport where we came from.
Hmm.
And sponsoring these amazing athletes is one part of it to like support them.
Hmm.
Obviously, as all sponsorships, we want to show the world that the best in the world are using Nonstop,
Yeah.
and we are very happy that they are on board with this.
Yeah.
We have a lot of athletes within, yes, canicross and bike like
Hmm.
the, in a way, traditional pooling sports where we come from.
Hmm.
But I think what is exciting is that we also have like agility people on very high level that are being sponsored and are using our products. We have flyball team, we have dog trainers, yeah, people doing obedience. So it's like it's a very wide variety of pro athletes from all different
Yeah.
sports,
Yep.
and having their feedback on our product is also
Mhm.
crucial.
Yep.
uh, we are very lucky, we have world champions within the company as well.
For sure. And I guess, further on to that, over your time with the company, you've obviously, I would, just as my opinion only, we have these pro athletes, high level performance dogs and also people, right? Some of the foundations of the company, and also, the transition. No, I wouldn't say transition, more about evolution. How about that? Into the other sports, and also your pet dog market as well. Can you tell me about, just your opinion on how you've seen, not necessarily, like I said, the market change, but the evolution, or the dynamics shift a little bit,
Hmm.
Mm.
So it's definitely like first, mostly the sporting market and the pro users that
Hmm.
are maybe looking for our products or get familiar with them.
Hmm.
But at the same time, first of all, for example, canicross has
Hmm.
been becoming bigger and bigger all around the world.
Hmm.
And I think it's super exciting that it's not only about the pro athletes joining it, but it's almost becoming like a recreational sport where
Hmm.
like people just run with their dogs.
Hmm.
Um, so it's equally as important to support them.
Hmm.
But then I think once they started the company and started looking at products, they saw that there is a great potential for other more everyday products. Like a raincoat is not necessarily something that the pro athletes were using,
Yep.
or these short harnesses.
Hmm.
But there is a great potential to do better there as well.
Yep.
With this in mind that I mentioned, that like just to provide freedom of movement, choose materials that are like high quality, very comfortable, last a long time,
Hmm.
um, to keep these in mind and make something for the more, I would call them like everyday people, not
Yep.
looking to like
Yep.
do a sport on high level. They just want to provide the best for their dog.
Hmm.
Uh, so we started to do more and more of those products as well to
Yeah.
provide for those people as well, looking for quality products,
Yeah.
allowing their dog to, yeah, reach
For,
their full potential.
100%. And one of the biggest things that has stuck with me, over our conversations, has been the freedom of movement, right? So when I
Mm,
started when I started Dogs and Deadlifts, I had a 3 to 5 year plan around educating people in regards to movement practices. I call them movement practices. Some people may call them
mm,
canine fitness, conditioning, etc., like that. But the amount of awareness that the general public are now having or getting around a harness that has nice shoulder movement, and is a Y front rather than coming across the chest I
mm,
think that there's the general public understanding that more, and
mm,
therefore, for me personally, the more we can discuss things like that, or we can educate, the better the dog's longevity will be. It's pretty for me. It's
yes.
pretty simple, right?
Mm. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Mm,
So, podcasts such as this, and, we talk about freedom of movement, and always, with the dog moves, comfortably, with a free movement,
mm.
we're kicking goals. And over a period of the dog's life, we just start ticking some boxes, right?
Yeah, but it's also
Mm.
about like the overall comfort. They will enjoy
Yep.
everything a lot better if the gear
Mhm.
is comfortable. They cannot
Yes.
talk, and they often, in a way, like don't want to tell us either. Like I see on my dogs, they just get crazy when they are running, and I could put anything on them pretty much. They
Yep.
would just like run because they are crazy about it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like it's our responsibility to look for gear and solutions that are allowing them to feel comfortable and feel good
Mm.
while they are doing their favorite activities.
Yeah, yeah, no, look, I agree, and it's great to see that we're getting I suppose that more awareness right from the I won't say the professional, but let's just say the weekend warrior, that participates in hiking, canicross on the weekends, right through to the agility. They're becoming more aware around, like you said, the comfort and the freedom of movement for their dogs,
Mm.
right?
Mm. I absolutely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, I've been holding off quite, but let's just, jump into obviously something that I'm super excited and super keen to talk about today is the range that you've developed under the working dog range,
Mm.
has, I guess, how did that concept come about? What is it for the listeners out there? And we'll talk about each individual item if that's okay. But how did that sort of come about?
So the Working Dog series is the result of we have been working together with like the Norwegian police, for example, the Norwegian military, like actual working dogs. I also consider a lot of other dogs working dogs, but
Yeah.
like dogs on duty. Um, so we have been working with them. They have a bit like a few different things that they prefer on their gear, or a few different things they expect from their
Mhm,
gear.
mhm,
Obviously, it's not about the design of the harness. They also want like freedom of movement, for example, but
mhm,
colors that you need to be able to like put tags on it. That we cannot use like plastic buckles, but it has to be like metal
mhm,
wherever the harness is attached. But nevertheless, we have been working with them, offering
mhm,
solutions for them. And
mhm,
then we realized in the past years that there are a lot of other dogs out there that need the same solutions.
mhm,
So either working in other countries where we are not selling that type of gear yet,
mhm,
or just yeah, like in the private life, they are doing some sort of work that
yeah,
requires yeah this type of gear for
yeah,
them.
yeah,
So it's been yeah like mm, very pro users, like not the
mhm,
pro athletes, but like
yeah,
a bit different pro users, like
yep,
the collaboration with them. As I mentioned, we do the same with the athletes. They are like using and testing the products and feedbacking. And we did the same, just with like a very different environment. And then we
mhm,
decided that based on their feedback, we have these products. We'll launch it also to
mhm,
like everybody that might be in need of that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And in that range, I've had a free motion harness, for quite some time. We'll talk
Mm,
about the free motion and the puller attachment very soon. But you've got your solid your collar, your line harness, and your line harness
mm,
long as well. So for listeners out there, we're obviously going to recommend that you go and check these out on the website, etc. But for me, the line harness is fantastic for my dog when he's doing man trailing, and
mm,
I love it, absolutely love it. Scent sports. If you're looking at harnesses for those, I really enjoy the harnesses, the line harness, and obviously the free motion harness with the puller attachment.
mm,
So like I said, before we move on, obviously, if you're looking at, investigating these, I highly recommend you jump on the website and have a look at them. But, the other option that I wanted to talk about is, the free motion with the puller attachment. Obviously,
mm.
that is something new for you guys as well, right?
Yes, it is actually.
Hmm.
So before, obviously, we had the free motion harness.
Hmm.
We also have a harness called combined harness, which is designed for to use with a pulka. So
Hmm.
it has pulka attachments next to the neck.
Hmm.
We also have a harness called nonsense stick harness, which is designed for mushers. So for lower pulling point activities, but
Hmm.
works also super well for pulling chains, for example.
Hmm.
And then the free motion harness working dog series is combining a bit this.
Hmm.
So it has two D rings on the side
Hmm.
where you can attach a product called the pulling attachment and pull. The free motion harness originally is designed for higher pulling point activities, like
Hmm.
where the attachment point is higher than the dog, for example, canicross, bike joring, scooter, ski joring.
Hmm.
So like if the dog is pulling something with the back attachment, like the normal attachment that is
Hmm.
on the ground, it might pull the harness up on the neck.
Hmm.
So it can cause breathing constraints. So that is not recommended. It's also like if it's a heavy weight, then it goes on the back, also not so good.
Hmm.
So with the pulling attachment, the pulling force is going into the sides. Then the breathing constraint is like not an issue. The dog can breathe still freely.
Hmm.
And again, there is no pressure on the dog's back, so we can put a bit like bigger weights without causing any issues for the dog.
Hmm.
And we can use it for resistance training, like I mentioned, to pull chains or tires.
Hmm. Yeah, and and for listeners out there, if you've been following my podcast, you know that I'm a huge fan of the resistance training slash
Mm.
drag work, and I have
Mm.
been testing, this for quite some time now, and absolutely, highly recommended. Where, and I guess that previously, and I've had an online program designed around resistance training, and
Mm.
what generally happened was that clients say, yeah, this is fantastic, we're going to do some strength and some endurance training with our dogs, but
Mm.
when they go to find a harness, previously they were, I would recommend custom made harnesses from a weight pool
Mm.
supplier,
Yeah.
with just additional length, etc., etc. So it was quite an effort to get
Yeah.
something, and also from the quality harness makers, they were booked out for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Some of them, they were a one person manufacturer that did it in their garage, and they would customize everything. So don't get me wrong, they were very nice harnesses. However,
Mm.
the hurdle was that they would place an order, and 3 or 6 months later they would receive their harness, right? And
Mm.
I don't want a harness in 6 months' time. I want it now, right? So when I seen that we had an opportunity to speak to you and for me to trial,
Mm.
I know that my dog wears a free motion, so the puller attachment was a no-brainer to me to try, and that way, my clients, and I recommend that to my clients now, that they can get
Mm.
started within 2 weeks, for instance, depending on where they live, right? So
Mm.
you don't have to sell me on it. I'm absolutely a huge fan of it already, and I wanted to talk about that, obviously, that today, because primarily we can, ready to go, straight from the website to you within a matter of weeks, right? And it's fantastic.
Mm.
Um,
Within a matter of days, I
yeah, somewhere,
think.
yeah, depending
Our
where you live.
delivery is like 2 days, so that is very cool. But obviously, it's also like the free motion harness and the pulling attachment. These are not weight pulling harnesses. Like they're
Hmm.
perfect for resistance training and
Yes.
pulling like lighter weights.
Hmm.
If someone wants to get into weight pulling, absolutely like take the time. Because as I mentioned, it's like so important that the dog gets the right gear.
Hmm.
So if you're looking into weight pulling,
Hmm.
like heavy weights and that sport, definitely like go and make a costume harness. It's
Hmm.
so important that you have the right gear. But I find for our use, where
Hmm.
it's just lighter weights and
Hmm.
also often higher intensity, because
Hmm.
in weight pulling, the dog will never like go and like gallop.
Hmm.
With like the harness and the weight behind it. While here we can easily do that. For example, the dog is canicrossing, and we might attach like a bit of extra weight to the chains
Hmm.
for some extra resistance. So it's just a different use, and
Hmm.
this harness works very well for our type of use.
Yeah, 100%. Look, and I agree, and that's what, if we're looking at, and for people out there sort of listening, I've been, and if you're familiar with my programming and what I talk about, we talk about
Mhm.
starting with acclimating the dog and under making sure they're comfortable with, say, chains pulling
Yeah.
and the noises and stuff
Mhm.
like that, and then we build up to potentially, we start with 5% of the bog's bod
Mhm.
5% of the dog's body weight, 10%, 15%, 20%, that sort of stuff. But then we
Mhm.
also calculate distance and et cetera, right? But if
Yeah.
you want to know
Yeah,
more about that, I'm happy to.
different. Yes.
I'm a bit geeky like that. I love that
Mhm.
sort of stuff. But certainly been experimenting. I wouldn't exceed a dog's body weight with the this particular harness and attachment, right? As you mentioned.
Mm.
But to get started ASAP, like you said, within a matter of days, 100%. Yeah. Some people
Mm.
just like to see how things go. And it's a very cost-effective way to see if you're interested in this type of activity for you and your dog as well, right?
Mm. No,
Mm,
absolutely.
yeah.
And also, it is actually like a great tool to just introduce dogs to pulling.
Hmm.
Because you have the chance that like you're in front of the dog,
Hmm.
you can have like attachment on the collar, just like have the dog on leash, so you have good control, and you're in front of them. You can encourage them while they are pulling something, and like get used to this feeling that like they have to lean into the harness, and, like
Hmm.
actually working the harness.
Hmm.
So it is being used here in Norway as an introduction
Yeah.
for some dogs. Obviously not with like heavy weights, so I
Hmm.
wouldn't necessarily do it with like very young dogs. But for example,
Yeah.
for people getting into the sport with the Nora, the adult dog, but
Hmm.
who has like never really pulled before,
Hmm.
this can be a great way to get them just used to, yeah, like the whole process of pulling. So I think it has a lot of benefits. Some people, when they see the chains, they look a bit like negatively at it, that
Yep.
it's like, oh, it cannot be good for the dog. And obviously you have to get them used to the sound of it. Like they have to be comfortable with the situation. But
Hmm.
apart from that, it's not much different than them pulling you on the bike or you yourself by running. It's just like it's just resistance.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of my clients, currently we're looking at, an online program, an 8-week program around scent detection dogs, so just getting them, and scent detection and also man trailing dogs as well, right? That people do it
Mm.
for that's their sport. And that's their
Yeah.
fun. So,
Yeah.
if we can incorporate some resistance training or drag work into their fitness program over 6 to 8 weeks, then the dog's going
Mm.
to last longer, be healthier. There's so many benefits to that for not just detection, man trailing dogs, but that's the area that I'm currently focusing
Mhm.
on, starting on the 1st of October. But you know, agility dogs, flyball dogs, etc., I
Mm.
feel can benefit from this resistance training when it comes time to compete in their actual sport, right?
Absolutely, because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's just you're building strength,
Mm-hmm.
really,
Mm-hmm.
in the dog's body, and in a very controlled way.
Mm-hmm.
Very often, the dogs are, yeah, just walking with this weight.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily have to, yeah, like gallop or trot with it. It can be like a very slow movement.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I myself am always attached to my dog, either with the collar that they are walking next to me, or
Mm-hmm.
to the harness attachment that they then it's a bit higher intensity. They usually have to run,
Mm-hmm.
so it's very controlled. I see free running, amazing. I love to watch my dogs free running,
Yeah.
but I actually have right now a dog that just cut one of his ligaments in the
Mm-hmm.
leg while free running.
Yeah.
Complete freak accident. He
Mm-hmm.
was like pretty much right beside me.
Yeah.
It happens so fast.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's like it's no matter if it's just like your favorite like just training buddy or your actual competing partner, it's equally heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
um, Not to mention the time, like they can free run the whole day, I feel. Well, with resistance training, it's like
Yeah.
an actual, not actual work but extra work.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
um, so even like a normal 20-minute walk can become into like a solid training that will tire them out.
Mm.
Uh, I'm not saying to replace all the walks,
Mm-hmm.
because the mental part is like super important for the dog, and
Mm-hmm.
also like you cannot work all the time either. Like
Yep.
it's very important to also provide them just like, yeah, that they don't have to work all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
also don't want to work all the time. But I
For sure.
think just replacing some of the daily walks with some resistance training can do wonders for the dog's overall health by
Mm-hmm.
strengthening the body.
Yep.
And also just so nice when you get home and you have a tired dog.
Oh, 100%. And and just on that, whilst we are talking about it and recommending it that you mentioned earlier, there is a look, there's a, I guess, there's a way to do it, and if you're unsure,
Mhm.
if you're listening to the podcast and you're unsure about this, you're welcome to reach out to me, or go see go do some research around canine resistance training. Like I said, I've got a
Mhm.
couple of podcasts on it, and you'll be able to listen to those podcasts free and get an idea of how to get started, and not just how to get started, but also how to get started safely, because
Mhm.
and this is something that I see a lot, going too hard too early, or, we may
Yes.
hook up. I've seen people hook up let's just say a tire, and don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
that's okay for me with certain dogs, right? But, how much does a tire weigh,
Yes.
compared to what the dog pulls, etc. So we just got to be mindful around injury prevention, safety.
Mhm.
Like I said, making sure the harness is the correct size and correct fit as well. So, whilst we're advocating for to get started with this type of activity,
Mhm.
just have, we recommend, and I recommend, just having a think about it, safety, and reaching out to any professionals, before you get started,
Absolutely.
right?
And I
Uh,
feel it's the same with every
mm,
sport, really.
mhm,
Like, no matter if you're looking to get into some other sport,
mhm.
it's always good to do some research, look for some professionals, get some advice, and
Yep.
rather start too slow than too fast. Like, I don't think you
Mm,
have anything to lose on starting too safely
yep.
and too carefully.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, look,
so
I agree.
absolutely.
While you're talking about free running there a moment ago, something popped into my head, and I'm a little bit like that
Mhm.
sometimes. I've been using the working dog line harness on for the dogs on the slap mills.
Yeah.
And you know, once again, I can't fault it, and I have a range of different dogs that come along, and
Mhm.
when they're in a gallop, for instance, and there's no issues around that at all, and I've been recommending that particular harness for all my clients that
Mhm.
want to get on the slap mill or the treadmill,
Yeah.
uh, for
Hmm.
sure. So, what else did you want to, shed a little bit of light on anything else cool happening in the next few months to 12 months that you can share, or with you guys?
I obviously cannot share too much, but we do have a new harness coming,
Hmm. Hmm.
which will be launching in October.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of people will love that. Um, Without wanting to say too much, I
Yep.
would say it's a combination of the line harness and the free motion.
Hmm. Hmm.
It will be an amazing solution for dogs that are a bit shorter, or for example have a very big neck compared to the rest of the body, like
Hmm.
this bull type of dogs. They
Hmm.
often have like huge necks compared to like the chest part,
Yep.
so it's hard to find harnesses for them. So I
Hmm.
think this harness will be great for that.
Hmm. Awesome.
So I'm very excited to see what people think about this one.
Yeah, awesome. No worries. I won't press you too much for that. So October, look, we'll keep an eye on things on social medias,
Mhm.
etc., and we'll see what happens in October. So just to sort of wrap things up a little bit, if anyone's interested in finding out any information around the working dog range, non-stop rain dog products in particular, where would they go ahead and find those?
I would definitely, on our website, nonstopdogwear.com, we have
Hmm.
not only our products, obviously, but a huge collection of articles, for example, on a lot of different topics from
Hmm.
like agility, canicross, bike during,
Hmm.
just general dog health, how to start with different sports, even a training plan from going to couch to 5K and then making your 5K time faster,
Yeah.
content on swimming. So it's just like endless, super useful content. Highly
Hmm.
recommend people to check it out.
Hmm.
And of course, you can find us on most social media channels and YouTube under the name Nonstop Dogwear,
Yep.
where again we have a lot of great and educational content where people can learn so much about so many different topics.
Yep.
As mentioned, we have amazing athletes and amazing ambassadors that
Mhm.
share a lot of knowledge. So I think it's super cool to share that with the world.
Yeah, awesome. So, look, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for taking the time this morning for a quick chat and, educating the Dogs and Deadlifts podcast listeners on non-stop dogwear and also, the working dog range that, once again, I'm super excited about and been using and highly, highly recommend, the products to all my clients. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope that the listeners found something useful.
For sure. That's right. Look, I enjoy just chatting. Thank you.
Thank you so much.